Shut up and sit down.
Welcome into another Red Out podcast. I'm here in the nice and blusterous winter advisory night with a new face. Not new, but newer. Jake's in studio. Well, not in with us, but he's on the phone with us. Hey, Jake, how's it going?
What's up? Well, I'm pretty good. I'm not out, and I didn't have to drive in this terribleness.
Yeah, I was glad we could actually kind of still get the show going, even with this nasty weather we're experiencing. And surprisingly, we don't have Jared. We got Ross this week. So it's always good to have somebody new. How's it going, Ross?
Going good. I don't think I have any fan stories or anything like that, but I'll try to make up for what I can bring to the table. So.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, we're going to talk a little bit later on your article you wrote on Halloween. I know we're a couple weeks late here, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later and take your take and some of the criticisms some of the people may have for it. But
it's
first,
still a super duper popular article, so no worries.
Oh no, yeah, it's. I completely agree with it as usual. But let's talk.
There might be somebody in the office at the house that might not like it, but let's win some more games. So.
Oh, I agree.
It's like I said last week, or maybe it was in the Discord chat. I can't remember, but it's like, look, if you don't want me to tell the truth about how much you suck, then win more.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's no argument. You can't. You have to judge your success as a college football coach as in how much you win or lose. And that converts over to financial gains for the school. So,
yep, absolutely.
Winners and losers this week. UK, big loser at Tennessee, which was not supposed to happen.
Yeah, right.
For me, I have Louisville as a winner. Firing Bobby Petrino, so they kind of got rid of that. I don't know. Does that make them a winner or a loser?
Absolutely a winner.
I think so, too.
You stopped the bleeding there. I mean, they had 3 or 4 decommitments. They had 2 players straight up quit the team during the middle of the season. They're definitely winners. I think that's the reason why they
Sorry to interrupt you. Now, Ross, you're like me. You listen to a lot of ESPN Louisville. Did you listen to any of the coverage on Sunday when they fired him?
Oh yeah, that was awesome. I got out of church and my phone was like blown up with text messages and like Bobby's gone. I was like, okay, well I know what I'm going to do today. Sorry, family.
Right, exactly. And I told my wife when we got out of church and I saw it, and I said, I guarantee you that ESPN Louisville is on right now doing this, and they did like 9 hours of coverage on it, taking calls. Like I've never seen a fan base so happy to see somebody gone. And everybody, I mean, literally every person calling in was just like, I am so happy that SOB is gone. He is a black mark on the university, and I cannot wait to have Jeff Brom home again. And there were a few people that were like, yeah, we don't need Jeff Brom, we need Brett Venables. It's like, calm down.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
No, Ross, you got it, buddy.
Well, I know, last time I remember, this was probably a month and a half or so ago, I remember me and you were on this podcast, and I was like, he's a stone cold a-hole. And, I think karma came back and bit him in the butt. Like, he couldn't hire anybody besides family members and retreads and everything else. And, that's how you collapse so quickly when you don't have somebody like Lamar Jackson, like, papering over your mistakes for you.
Yeah, absolutely, which is why I agree with you, Devin, that Louisville is a big winner, even if Brom doesn't come back, and I think he will, but even if he doesn't, you're still better off by just firing. I mean, for the love of God, they got a quarterback commitment like the day after Bobby got fired, or like yesterday. Like, it's so dumb.
So, well, since we're on topic with this, with Louisville losing Bobby Petrino, who would be your next coach? Could you land...
It's Jeff Brom or bust.
You think it's Jeff Brom?
It's Brom or bust.
Okay, now I was going to throw out a scenario here. Do you think Willie Taggart's going to be fired this year?
No.
You don't think so? I would hope not. Being his first season at Florida State, he doesn't really have the talent yet that can, and he's a recruiting coach. That's his big strength, is bringing in kids. I was going to say, if Florida State does toss him at the end of the year, could we see a Willie T come to Louisville, because that would be the smaller mid-major that he would go for. Well, Power 5, I guess.
Yeah, well, so there's 2 things on that. One, I don't think that there's a lot of interest in like the Louisville athletic department and taking a coach who is being let go. I think they just fired a coach. They probably wouldn't spend $4 million on a guy who couldn't perform in 1 year. I think that would go over pretty poorly. And then two, again, it is absolutely in Louisville. It is Brom or bust. There is a lot of smoke around it. Lots of people in the media who are really, really close to Brom and really close to the situation firmly believe that it's going to happen. Now, he's not going to give Louisville, again, all the media. He's not doing a hometown discount, right? Yeah, he comes home and it's great, and it's awesome, and that's definitely a plus, right? You get to go. I mean, they're the first family of Louisville when it comes to football. I mean, everybody loves the Broms. That's just part of it.
But he's got to get paid.
The dad, Oscar, was like a quarterback in the 60s. All three sons played there and took him to prominence, the Fiesta Bowl and the Orange Bowl. So,
yeah, I mean, but the deal is, okay, and this is kind of where you start worrying about the carousel if you're rooting for U of L. Is okay. One, who else is coming open this year? Two, next year looks like the next offseason, not this coming, but the one after, looks like you're going to have the huge openings. Your Ohio State, your Auburn, some of these big dog jobs are coming open, and the worry amongst a few people is, okay, does he just wait another year and then do that? I think he comes to Louisville. They're going to open the checkbook. They've got the money. I learned over this week that the buyout isn't all at once for Bobby. They have saved for this eventuality. They can pay it off over the rest of the course of his contract, which is forever long. It's only a couple mil a year. Not that big of a deal.
I agree. I think Brom is going to be our dude. I think, or as far as going to be Louisville's guy. Yeah, I wish. Yeah, and I know a lot of Brom beaters think the same thing, but
yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah, and I called them Brom beaters because they're kind of the ones that beat the drums whenever it's like, well, well, he wasn't like that, and then it's kind of so. So we'll go ahead and talk about the game a little bit here. Western loses to FAU. Did either of you watch the game?
I did.
You did? Okay, good. Jake, did you watch?
Somebody did.
I did too. I did too because I wrote the recap, but it was the most abysmal thing I can say I've watched probably this year. Of course, I've got notes. Because the way I write the recap, I write down every
scene. I can hear the paper. You're like Jim Rome over there.
Yes, Jim Rome. I mean, there were highlights to the game where I thought things were good, and then there's the constant nagging issues. We have not had a consecutive quarterback start this year. That's my big nagging issue with this game.
Hey, you're going to have one this week.
So Duncan's getting the start again?
He is. He will be getting the start this week, according to the newsy stuff online.
And then, is Eccles hurt? I heard he was hurt during the game.
Oh, I do not believe Eccles is hurt. I'm sorry.
I mean, why play him anyway? He's going to be – the season's over. You need to play people that could be here next year. I mean, it made no sense against Middle why I did that.
I concur. I think at this point, with the fan base lighting the torches and, basically forming a mob, I think you have to build for the future and, just build up the best quarterback you think, and that's your horse that you're going to ride out for the rest of the season,
Well, they should have done this a long time ago. I know that Duncan had some inconsistencies, but if that's his guy,
that's who you go with.
Eccles is so stupid. And as I said after that, the last time I said he was hurt, he's got loser's limp. He's not hurt.
He may
didn't want it.
He may or may not be. I don't know. But my issue is he your guy though? And that's my thing.
The dude hadn't played in how many games?
Yeah, you don't get enough sample size with the yo-yoing of the quarterbacks. I don't think any of them had enough time to work out the kinks and say, okay, well, grow. What we've been complaining about Sanford period. He hasn't grown as a coach. You can't blame whether it be Shanley or Duncan for being inconsistent and being kind of rusty when you play one game, you get hurt, you get pulled, blah 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 blah. Let's see how he progresses from 2 starters in a row and see what happens.
I agree.
I honestly think that was just Sanford grasping at straws because I mean, when do you think he thought like the job was starting to slip away? I mean, 2 or 3 games in, when he starts like Shanley, Duncan, Eccles. I think he was just trying to scratch a win.
What was that, Ross?
I think Charlotte was the game where he said, "Oh shit, sorry." That
One won't kill us.
We lost to a team that's coaches on the hot seat that's never done anything, and they had a whole bye week to prepare for it, and they just got blown out by them. I think that's when the wall started coming in on Sanford.
Ross, I mean, I don't know what your football coaching experience is, but in my opinion, when you look at a coach who has started 3 different quarterbacks, and even throwing Thomas in there, putting 4 in the game, it's almost like he's guessing. I feel it's like a little kid guessing which hand's it in. At this point, he's just guessing. He has no idea what's going on. That's my opinion.
It's like you trying to guess a play on Madden. Like, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Line up in the hole? I mean, what's going on here? But just looking at the game, the notes I took from the game, they had a lot of potential going into FAU. FAU's offense is still super, but they're not as good as they were. Of course, they came off a really big win last week, beating FIU, which was a surprise to me.
Division leading FIU.
What were you saying, Jake? Go ahead, Jake.
No, I just said division leading FIU.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, and I thought that was weird, like, who at the beginning of the season... I mean, I know we thought FIU would be better. I mean, but who would have thought, like, at the start of the season, it's like, oh, yeah, good win over FIU? Okay.
Well, I mean, they did win 8 games last year. They weren't awful. I mean, Butch Davis is a hell of a coach. So.
Yeah. FIU is a strong team, and I mean, I don't think anybody thought that they were going to be division leading, but I think they definitely have a chance at the conference championship this year. Do they now?
I mean, they held the tiebreaker against Myrtle, so as long as they don't slip up, these last 2 games, they're going to play UAB in the championship. So
who do you take in the championship, UAB or FAU? Or FIU, I'm sorry. Too many F and U's. So who do you have?
I'd say you got to take UAB.
Yeah, I think so too.
Game this weekend against A&M.
They look good.
I agree. I think that's one of those that you got to take UAB because they're awesome this year as far as...
I mean, they're ranked.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here real quick. Well, while we're on topic, Ross, let's talk a little bit about your article here. It's a really popular article. I tried to find it
most read all the time.
Yeah. There's no argument there, right? Some people debated as to if it was that popular, but apparently it's really popular. I'm going to go through some of the headlines here, and let's see what your take is. With the program where it was in December of 2016, and actually, let me change topics here just for a second. I heard, and I don't know if you heard this or not, with the announcers during the game, that Mike Sanford said that with his 1-9 team, or 1-8, or whatever they are, that the locker room is in a better place than it was last year. What do you think about that, Ross?
Just awful. I mean, just because you don't have some people that are questioning what you do, you're 1-9. Like, I also heard him say a comment about well, we're not going to shortcut and take JUCOs and transfers and blah 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 blah.
That was my next one. Yeah,
you got to do that at this level. I mean, you can go down the list. I know in our group chat thing, Brom had 9 or 10 impact players. Holt, Dangerfield, Grant, Mike White. Like, you got to fill in gaps with transfers and stuff. That's just how it works at this level. And by bragging because you're not doing that, it's just another X on his whole tenure here. It's kind of disgusting.
I concur. I think it's the same thing. You got to fill the gaps, and you may not get the talent that you need at X position, but you need to find someone who is talented at a JUCO or whatever and get that in there. Jake, what's your take?
Well, not only that, but it's so tone deaf, right? Like, you're sitting at a 1-9 season. You are hemorrhaging at every point. You cannot score points. You cannot defend. You are simply failing at everything. And then And granted, the recruiting class next year, okay, fine, whatever. And then he's got the cojones to say, oh, well, the locker room is in better shape. How in the hell is the locker room in better shape? Because you don't have NFL players in there? Is that why it's in better shape?
He's saying it's in better shape.
So stupid. Well, I know. He's saying, that's what I'm being a smart ass about it, but it's in better shape because he doesn't have anybody questioning him. That's what it is. He doesn't have anybody who is leading the team that was really under the old system. Because let's be honest, we don't have that many seniors, and the seniors that we do have, like, Eccles isn't leading this team. Let's be real. Whether it hurt or not, he has not had the performance that he had thought. Rode the bench for 4 years. He's doing it again.
The grad transfers, he lost two of them that would be leaders right now. So
it's just bad.
It is bad. And, of course, I think that goes on into your next heading here, deciding to drastically change the program instead of easing into the transition. I think, of course, those seemed like excuses. That the locker room is in better shape this year than it was last year. Well, last year you had a winning record. So I don't know what your argument is there.
Losing record after the bowl game.
Yeah, losing record after the bowl game. But he was 500 going into it, so, I mean, there's kind of a little bit, and that whole bowl game just still gets all over me. But anyway.
I was down in Orlando, and you could tell the whole team had checked out. That's when I knew, okay, we could have problems, but I still gave him the benefit of the doubt heading into this season. And then the main game was like, here we go again. So my whole point is, like, I think Stanford would have been great taking over a program like UTEP or somewhere where you can do that complete culture change because you're used to losing. But to take programs with 12 and 11 back-to-back wins, conference championships, winning, 6 straight seasons of winning, and to say, we're going to do it this way. I'm going to teach you guys how the pursuit and all this other nonsense. It's just, A, it was corny, and B, you're not going to get a veteran team to buy into that. So all the goodwill he could have built this, last year, and maybe could have bought him some more time this year, is coming to head because he blew a veteran-laden roster.
Well, and I think another argument here is that he had he came off of those 2 championship years, so even if there was a talent drop or anything, he's going to be facing an uphill battle from the fan base because of, they were winning big, they were doing this, and I mean, according to what those announcers said, even some of the players, the veteran players themselves, were having issues with it because they didn't continue the big wins. And I agree with you on everything in this, but it's hard to argue that he needs to stay. And there are stoic people out there who are saying, give him another chance. And I'm with you all that chance has come and gone.
There's about 2 online that I can think of, and that's about it. But their whole excuse
probably 2, like, in the whole state.
Yeah, their whole excuse is, well, he's a young coach, blah, 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 blah. I mean, at the end of the day, we can go through all these point by point, but he was just a massive, massive misjudgment by Todd Stewart. And you know what? You can't bat 1,000. I mean, we hit 3 in a row with Taggart, with Petrino, with Braum. You can't hit them every time. And the only way I think you could have prevented a bad hire is if you would have, realized how big of a cultural shift it was going to be, how different the styles were going to be, how green Stanford really was when he was jumping from. I mean, he had an impressive resume. Stanford, Boise, Notre Dame, but he was never anywhere for more than 2 seasons before he bounced on to the next one. So, I think he kind of got, he kind of kept climbing and thinking that, this is going to, attach myself to not good coaches, but when it was on him, this is where, your ability to organize, to run an offense, to have a quality staff. When you're hiring people from, Division II or position coaches and yada, 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 he's just kind of had a giant misjudgment of what it takes to be a head coach, which someone like Braum before him was probably like 44 and had just, that much more experience to go off of.
Well, I saw some stuff on Twitter where they were talking about that, how, did you expect, it was like a national writer, somebody that knew Stanford from previous jobs, like at Notre Dame. He's like, well, would you have thought that Sanford was going to be this bad this fast at Western? And the guy was like, well, no, because he seemed super sharp. But there were people close to him who this person knew who said he wasn't really ready to do the nitty-gritty like program management stuff that you need in order to be an effective head coach. And if anything was going to get him, it was that, which is surprising. Not that they said that, but that when you look at what actually happened was not only does he seem ineffective at managing the day-to-day of the program, but he also seems fairly ineffective at actually play calling, which Notre Dame got better when he left. So,
well, I think. Well, first I'll touch on Ross's point. Todd Stewart's allowed a miss every now and then because
definitely
it is like a racehorse in a way. He is basically going to a track, metaphorical track, and betting on a horse.
Yeah,
so you look at it and you're like, well, blah blah blah. This guy's the youngest coach, yada, yada, yada. And like you said, with his resume, I mean, it was hard to argue, and there was no point in his resume that said, well, this is iffy. I mean, besides his age. And yeah, Jake, I know of a few fans who are stoic, that are very apprehensional about giving him another year, but as far as I'm concerned, that 4th and whatever on their own 15-yard line against Maine was the game that I just unplugged.
Yeah.
You got to pull the plug there. I'm sorry.
For me, it was the Louisville game.
You think it was Louisville?
For me, it was Louisville.
Blew it.
Because that's a game where you had every chance to win. Power 5, in-state rival. They're garbage, you're garbage, but maybe you're less garbage. And you got a shot to beat them at home, and you pee down your leg.
How much he could have got so many miles out of that win too. Like he could be sitting at. I mean, I firmly believe if he wins that game, we probably win 2 more games. But he could have a 4-8 year, but he could sell. Hey, I beat Louisville, even if it was the worst Louisville team since Ron Cooper. But like we got so much mileage out of those 2 Kentucky wins over 2-win teams. That could have given him a little bit of hedge to say, hey, stick with me. But instead, he just blew that like he has every close game.
I agree. The thing is, with the Louisville game, though, I think that he could sit at 2-10 by beating Louisville and beating Ball State and say, well, I beat Louisville and I beat Ball State. Maybe the conference was up this year, yada, yada, yada. It's a rebuilding year, but he had 2 wins. I think that a Louisville win would have at least given him a little leverage to negotiate from being put on the chopping block. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, without question, I think that an actual Power 5 win over a team that at the time people perceived as not the best, but not the absolute garbage heap that they are now. But yeah, that absolutely would have given him so much more leash.
Okay, so kind of speeding it along here. This week, we talked about Louisville too much. This week we play the UTEP Miners. This is the bottom 5 and 6 game of the century, from what I heard earlier. Western is at 0-6 and 1-9 overall, and UTEP is 1-5 and 1-9 overall. Who did they beat? Rice, I'm assuming?
Rice.
Yeah, okay. So
if you look at we're a 7-point favorite, and if you look at, you kind of look at their recent results. Let's just go down. They played MTSU, who just beat us pretty tough. They lost 48-32, so 18-point margin. What did we lose? 29-10 against them. So similar results, but they could score, and we know that's our problem. They beat a Rice team where they ran out of early against them, and then kind of ran off gas but held on, and then before that they played UAB 19-0, who's going to win the conference, and Louisiana Tech only lost by 7, North Texas only lost by 3. So you go by their last month or month and a half of the season, they've shown improvement. Why we keep getting worse, and that's why this game worries me more than anything.
Well, Jake, what's your take on it, buddy?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think that they are defeated. I'm not saying a lot of these kids are his, not just the ones he recruited, but they do seem to care about him. So I don't want to say he's lost the locker room, but it does look like there's an effort problem. It does look like they don't know what they're doing out there, and I think that comes from the top. And like Ross says, look, even though both teams this year have a history of close losses, Western's lost a bunch by 3 or so. Those were
not recently.
As we've progressed, they've gotten the two teams are almost intersecting and going opposite ways. And so it's I honestly think this is probably UTEP by 7, but Lord knows, I don't know. The whole stadium could burn down and both teams lose. Who knows?
Actually, we're supposed to get 7 in this one.
But as we have found, Vegas 7. Is not watching this year. They just aren't.
Why would they? Ross, what were you saying, buddy?
I don't blame them. I'm not.
Here's one thing that we haven't brought up on the podcast yet that I really want to hear your guys' thoughts on it is you probably saw the article from Brad Stevens this week about basically the ultimatum that's the insider in the program said Sanford loses both, he gets fired. He wins both, he keeps his job, and he splits. Who knows? What are you guys' thoughts on that? I mean, does a win over UTEP really prove that things are going in the right direction? And I mean, I think almost 25-game body of work just speaks for itself. And a win over a one-win UTEP, and I don't see any way to lose UTEP next week. So it's another short-sighted thing. The only thing I can think about that is it's just another thing to motivate the players before so they actually play hard the last 2 games.
Jake, I'll let you go ahead and take it, and then I'll jump in on that. How about that?
Yeah, so for me, that's almost like bringing an entire multi-million-dollar decision down to sudden death, winner take all, double or nothing type of tactics. Why would a win over a bad UTEP team and a middle-of-the-road La Tech team change, like Rush said, 2 years worth of data and evidence? How in the world could that justify, saving $300K maybe? I just don't see it. I don't understand it. It cannot be true. I firmly believe, look, everybody lies every day, right? And I'm not saying Tom Stewart or whoever those sources were are liars, but I'm saying that I think it's, as we say in the legal profession, that's mere puffery. It's not really a lie, but they're being disingenuous when they say it. I think it's a tactic, and I don't care. You beat UTEP by 20 and beat La Tech by a touchdown or 2. I don't care. The dude cannot do the job. He needs to get run out of town on a donkey.
I mean, if they won each game by 30 points, and you could point to, hey, we actually got it, but there's been zero evidence that it's going to click. So I just don't believe it.
My thing is, though, what if you lose to UTEP and you beat La Tech? UTEP is the worst team out of the 2, and La Tech, as Jake said, was a mediocre team.
7-3 La Tech, though.
Yeah, well, it's 7-3 La Tech, and it's really? So you're going to lose to this crappy team. So does that tells me that it's either preparation or it's a mentality issue on the team as to that they can't, keep the concentration and going to beat them. But I think he's got to go. I think whoever told that, I won't say that they were fibbing or misleading or anything, but I think they just said that just so people would pay attention. But he's got to go.
Or maybe they got told that by somebody in the program. Maybe a assistant to an assistant SID or something. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, even a player may have overheard something. Right. I don't know. But at the same time, it's who cares? If you beat UTEP, why does he stay? If you beat La Tech, okay, they're a mediocre team, and you could argue some progress there. But is it? I mean, after all the debacles,
the only way you can justify it's we're not going to fire him because of the buyout. And if you win the last 2 games, we can spin that. That's the only way I can see it. It's all about spin with the fan base.
Well, and of course, from what I've heard, and I don't know how necessarily true this is, but based off the firings and buyouts from, or firings, I guess resignations of former coaches, and that we should still have some money left over from some of those buyouts.
And the thing with buyouts is you don't pay lump sums unless it's unless it's written in the contract that way, typically what happens, and I would imagine, I mean, I haven't read Sanford's contract. I probably could.
Sanford's is 18 months.
It's 18 months you have to pay it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a little tighter than most. But still, you don't have to pay a lump sum. You can pay it off over a year and a half.
Well, I think, they structured that contract because they'd gotten buyouts from every other coach, and that's why it was so much. They thought, oh, this guy's a big hotshot, rising star. Somebody's going to pluck him up, and we're going to make more money and pay for the next coach and the next coach.
Well, we always
this was finally the time where it came to a head. Heck, he interviewed for Arizona last year after that mediocre season. Like, he was going to bounce at the first shot he got, but he just can't coach. So,
and there's a lot of issues. My thing is, there's a lot of things that happen during games, and it's like that's common sense. You know, that's a coaching 101 move that you should A, punt the ball if it's on your side of the field. B, you go for the easy points, which is a constant issue with him.
Rotating kickers, it just
Well, I mean, even sticking with the same horse metaphorically for the quarterback. I mean, pick your guy and ride it out. And if somebody says, "Well, what about him?" That's part of it. You know, there's always going to be somebody in the media or the fan base that's going to question the starting quarterback and yada yada yada. But you know, you got to stick it out and ride it out and say, "This is our guy." We think this is it. Just do it. Don't guess every single game and start a new quarterback, which is the most frustrating thing for me. So, Ross, kind of preview something, I guess, that technically you're working on for Towrac. With Bobby P being fired, is there a Bobby P part 2?
No. Hell no.
Agreed. Hell no.
I mean, you see the Facebook groups and whatever that, we kind of live in as kind of to see the pulse of the fans. There are some fans that are completely ignorant to what's gone down in Louisville. I mean, like, basically what happened with Bobby there is he's so toxic, nobody wants to work with him, blah, 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 down the list. And his team literally gave up on him. That's why he got fired 2 weeks before the season and is kind of putting Braum in these awkward situations where he has to answer press conference questions. You think that's going to magically, at a program with less resources, with everything else, it's going to work again? No, it's not. He's, you take a coach that's young and dumb like Sanford to him, who's just a stone cold disciplinarian and unlikable. There's going to be a revolt. I mean, I saw Leo Peckinpah said he was the most hated man in Bowling Green for his one season in the 100 years of Western Kentucky football. I mean, we survived him. We got 1 year. I'm sure you can get Matt McKay to ramble on about him all the time, but he gave us Braum, he gave us Holt, he gave us. He kept the train running, and I appreciate that. But, just look at Louisville. Don't make their mistake twice. Don't bring him in to fix something. I don't know. It just our fans are dumb sometimes.
I agree, and what my big issue is, I actually my brother's birthday is next week, and I went out and we were talking and celebrating his birthday, and him and my father both kind of cornered me and was like, "Do you think Bobby Petrino's coming to Western?" And I was like, "No, God, no." And they're like, "Well, why not? He's a Power 5 coach, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, it's not going to happen again. And here's my metaphor I used with him. I said, Bobby Petrino, when he came to Western the first time, was like Pamela Anderson in the 90s. He was a hot commodity. Am I right? He was a hot commodity. He was not necessarily damaged, but he was still a high-profile coach.
He was damaged, but yeah.
Yeah, he was damaged, but he still had potential.
But he was damaged in reputation and not in his actual performance on the field.
Exactly.
He romper stomped through a bad conference while he was at Louisville, but with admittedly some great wins, right? I mean, he did. I mean, first proper really good bowl wins. I mean, all this crazy stuff, and then
he was great at Arkansas.
What he did at Arkansas was good. I mean, aside from Gino's wife and all that, but on the field stuff was excellent. And when he came to Western, it wasn't excellent, but it was good. It was good enough. It continued to build. It left a good staff. It left some players. It was good.
And we got paid.
And we got what?
Yeah, he paid us $800,000 to coach a season.
Yes.
Gotta love that.
And of course, my metaphor was Pam Anderson in the 90s, and now he's like Pam Anderson today. Do y'all know what Pam Anderson's doing now? Exactly. Nobody has any clue, and nobody really wants to know what she's doing right now.
Nope. I hope retired and.
No joke.
Apparently, she had, according to the National Enquirer, she had a DWTS leg explosion, whatever that means.
DWTS.
Oh, wait, what? Hold on. Did she say leg explosion?
I just Google searched Pam Anderson and.
Yeah, but that's the National Enquirer too. We have to kind of take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
No joke, though, I did hear somebody tell on the radio that if you were wanting Pam Anderson or somebody to come to your birthday party, all you had to do was pay her like $500. And I was like,
kind of seems
really?
like a bargain.
Yeah, but, well, you say bargain. I say I don't know about that.
You could charge $2. You could charge a couple bucks admission, and I bet you break even or make a little bit. I bet you would, depending on what you pay her to do.
I think you very.
Oh, she messed up her leg on Dancing with the Stars. Apparently,
that's what it is. I was so lost with DWTS. I was like, what in the flip is that?
I'm sorry, but you did say leg explosion, right?
Yeah, I think she might have had like a Kevin Ware issue or some stuff. I don't know.
Because I didn't. At first, I thought you were going to say like a DWI, and I was like, oh, that doesn't surprise me. And then you said some other letters. Okay, then I got confused. And then you said leg explosion, and I was like, did she get shot? Did she have like calf implants that like popped on a plane? Like what?
Honestly, when you were like DWTS leg explosion, I thought like an ankle monitor malfunctioned and it exploded on her. That's where my head went. I was like, does those things explode?
Well, I mean, there was some explosion on her during that Tommy Lee video, but that's neither here nor there.
Yep. Yeah. Ugh. Hepatitis. Anyway. So, I guess we'll kind of transition over into basketball right now. And I want to start with the sad news that I heard today. I think, Ross, you posted that. With Courtney Bivens passing away.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, I just want to go ahead and just say, our thoughts and prayers go out to her family. It's a tragedy, and she was taken far too young, and the entire situation is just ridiculous. I'm sorry. She was taken far too young, and, our prayers are with you.
Yeah, pretty messed up.
It is, and it's... we can talk off air about what my thoughts on it, but the women played. Of course, they have got one of the hardest first half of the seasons I've seen in a long time. They played Louisville, lost 102-80. They played Oklahoma, they lost 90-83, which those are all Power 5 teams. And then they played Iowa at Western. And it was 104-67.
They hosted 2 of those games.
Do I now?
I said they hosted 2 of those games.
Yeah, and of course, as always, make sure that you are supporting the Lady Tops because they need your support. Those young ladies are playing their hearts out for you, and I mean, these are some big games, and not many times do you get to go to Diddle and watch a number 5 team and a number 13 team come to Bowling Green. So,
yeah, I mean, watching
something
top
crazy.
20 teams play, regardless of the outcome, is super cool.
Looks like
something crazy about their next opponent. So you think, okay, they played Louisville, Oklahoma, and Iowa. Oh, they get to play the Chippewa. It's kind of a step down in competition. Well, Central Michigan's coming off of a Sweet 16 team, so I mean, just murderers row. And then Southern Illinois, and then Oregon State, who just blasted them in the tournament last year. It's like Greg Collins has got his work cut out for him this first year.
Yeah.
So, Ross, I'll ask you like what I asked last week. Let me check here. It doesn't say. Yeah, okay. So, Oregon State, would they not be the Lady Beavers?
Oh my God, the Lady Beavers.
I love it.
I hope so. So, quick aside, anything with beavers, the funniest name for a bar or strip club. I had a buddy whose mom lived in Columbia, Tennessee. Apparently there was a bar there called the called the Muddy Beaver.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
No.
Yeah.
That is probably like the nastiest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I was in Columbia, Tennessee, too, so, yeah.
Yeah, that adds on to the whole nastiness. The Muddy Beaver.
Like, I just checked the women's basketball team's wiki page for Oregon State, and it doesn't say Lady Beavers, or I think they're just the Beavers, which still isn't that much better. I just want to throw that out there.
No, I agree.
Just the Beavers.
Yes, yeah. If I was going to say, if it is truly the Lady Beavers, that's really got to be they've got to change that name. So great. Of course, I just think that. Of course, I'm a child at heart anyway, so anything with beaver in it, yeah, exactly. We're not going to grow up. We're just we get bigger. Yeah, like you said, Ross, the ladies are going to play Central Michigan on the 17th at 1:00. And looks like they got Southern Illinois Salukis on the 20th, and then Oregon State on the 22nd. So that's Thanksgiving, isn't it?
I just hope that people don't get too disheartened about the early season struggles because you're talking new coach. They did lose quite a bit of talent, even though they still have a really good roster. And look, they're going to be fine in conference. I honestly think this is still going to be a really good season and going to be a really good team. I don't know about tournament. I don't know about the postseason, but I'm not that worried about the season, to be honest.
I'm good with the Murderers Row start of the schedule because you're getting paid.
Well, yeah, that and the strength of schedule for postseason is going to be a lot better. So that's going to go into your NET rankings, and then you're talking about getting better, right? That old cliche iron sharpens iron, that's legit a thing. When you play better teams and don't just beat up on scrubs, you do get better by the time the end of the season rolls around.
And I know, Jake, we talked about this last year a little bit. Last year their strength of schedule wasn't there. They played Mississippi Valley State and some of these teams that we had never heard of before, and it's really difficult to talk about teams you've never heard of. And
that's true.
I want to say
they had a few I think they played one ranked team early on. I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was Missouri. They ranked 22nd or 25th or something. I do remember that because it was a fairly close game, at least for part of it. But I don't recall them having a lot of super front-loaded schedule like they do.
Women's basketball is just a weird game too, just because it's so top-heavy. Basically you have the top five that are just world beaters, and then after that, there's just a huge drop-off between 6 and 25 or 6 and 40, and then after that, even a bigger drop-off. It's just Western's basketball women's team's got such a good history, but I just kind of doubt we'll ever get back to kind of where we were back in the day, just because, you gotta, losing Michelle Clark-Hurd was just a big deal. And just, we've had so much success, even relatively over the past decade, and can't even get out of the first round. It's just kind of disheartening a little bit. And that's why I think she left.
Completely agree. I just wish that our women's basketball was as good as our volleyball.
Conference tournament this weekend for volleyball.
Awesome, yeah, great. We're getting all the news on tonight.
2 seed.
We are a 2 seed. Awesome. Who's the 1 seed? Any idea?
Where's it at? Isn't it at Marshall?
Yeah.
Well, that could be your 1 seed then. I don't know. Are you looking that up right now? I'm guessing, Jake.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I hear typing, so I'm assuming someone's typing.
That was
maybe both of us. Because I can hear it too on my...
First, Rice.
Rice is number 1. Okay. Wow, okay.
21-6, Rice. We finished 20-9, so...
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it goes Rice, FAU, UTSA, as far as conference standing goes. And it's it's a pretty decent tie there, third.
Awesome. So kind of change gears real quick. Looks like Western beat UTM, which, by the way, it was a pretty close game, surprisingly, up until, basically the whole game looks like 86-71. What we got giggling?
I don't know. I was not a fan. Wait, of the game, I was a little miffed. I wasn't able to watch it, which I.
So do you guys get Louisville cable channels, or what do you guys get in E-Town?
Yes, we get Louisville.
So you guys know you can watch every Western basketball game on channel 20, or I guess WBNA 21 or whatever. So just a good FYI.
That's out of Southern Indiana, and I do not get that one. Just FYI, but that's because I don't have cable. So.
I'll have to look that up because I don't know. Jake is Amish, so he doesn't have cable. He just goes off internet.
You're gonna have to stream.
But
I can find illegal streams of it, guys, but I try to not fiddle with it.
No, Jake is a good person who doesn't do stuff like that.
Don't worry about it.
I will have to look that up to see if I get that channel, but we kind of get in our household we get basic cable. We haven't splurged on the other. We just kind of do Hulu for everything else. So,
so I did watch the whole game because I had the recap while I was watching the football game the other night, and I mean, it was a slow start. I mean, UT Martin came out shooting really hot from three. I think Western trailed by 19. I'm looking at my recap right now. 19-12 after the first 5 minutes. And that was without Deshaun Murray on the floor. And then kind of once we decided to put him in, it kind of turned the whole part of the game. Still pretty sloppy. We didn't really put him away. I mean, we only won by 16 or 15 against a probably bottom half of OVC team. But I mean, I think we're still trying to figure out lineups and still trying to get over, the previous week's pot suspensions and all that kind of stuff. So, we just got Jake, you can talk about the Myrtle Beach tournament, but starting tomorrow, I think that's where we're going to really see how much this team's come together over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, I kind of.
Well, since you,
I was going to say, I just kind of.
Myrtle Beach tournament. There is a. I shared this on our Twitter. There is a really interesting article, a short little article, but one nonetheless, from Busting Brackets that I was going to talk about because they believe that Western is going to win the thing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, wow was my first thing too. I was like, wait, really? What?
Yeah. Well, I'll let you talk a little bit about that. What makes them think that Western will take the Myrtle Beach Invitational?
Well, it's interesting because what they talk about is they kind of assume that we're going to get past Valpo without a lot of trouble. Now, one of the things that I saw that the Daily News shared was that Western, as far as the odds go, Western's a 4-point favorite against Valpo in that opening game. And
I'm going to lay down
understand.
on that.
Say that again, Ross?
I said I'm going to lay down on that bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on one side, like I get it. They have a really dumb loss early, which we can talk about, and aren't world beaters by any means this year. But at the same time, I think a lot of people are reading Western's talent, not reading Western's play, right? There's a lot of talent. You've got Charles Bassey, who was just this absolute monster, but his plus minus hasn't been that good. If you look at the Martin game, we didn't play really good 3-point defense against them early on. They had been a hot shooting team coming in, hitting 10 threes in their previous game. Now, they didn't in this game. They didn't end up hitting 10 threes. They ended up hitting 8 threes. They went 8 of 25 from beyond the arc, but at the same time, Western didn't come out and really assault on defense the way that they needed to. And I think it kind of goes back to what Ross says. They're still trying to figure out lineups. You had, and I think it was intentional that Nelson started over Murray because Nelson hadn't been caught smoking weed yet. God, knock on wood somewhere. So I think that was a little bit. I think that was a kind of a part of it. You saw when Murray got in that he really was able to take over, and he attempted the most shots. He tied for hitting the most shots. But as far as winning the Myrtle Beach Invitational, what they think is that they're going to roll past Valpo. They're going to face up against West Virginia, who's going to roll in their first game, and they honestly tie it to Tavion and Bassey. I think Tavion is going to do what he does, which is go up and under and scoop past you and score. And they think Charles Bassey is going to get more double doubles and be a problem for the West Virginia bigs inside. Now, my question is, and I've just been looking at Valpo. I haven't looked yet at West Virginia. But West Virginia always has a really strong press. They always are a very athletic team. And
I'm
interested to see how. Go ahead, Ross.
Yeah, that's what scares me. I don't trust Josh Anderson to be able to break the press. I mean, I think you got to play somebody like Hollingsworth at the point if you really want to trust somebody. Because I mean, if we had Beard, I'd feel really confident about the West Virginia matchup. But I mean, Buffalo beat them last week. They had a senior point guard in Massenberg, and they beat them in Morgantown. I just don't know if we're going to have the point guard play to overcome that. I don't trust Bannon at all. Bannon is not ready yet.
He's a baby.
And Josh Anderson, he just gets too hyped and he'll come up with 2 early fouls. I'm scared to death of this West Virginia matchup.
Yeah, and that was my main thing is that I just and I said this before, I guess kind of to you guys and around. I haven't talked about it on the air, but I'm nervous about point guard play until Bearden comes back. I don't think we have a good answer, to be honest with you. I was surprised when in the offseason and in the preseason that Anderson was kind of looked to as that answer at the point. But I just do not see him, mentality-wise, I guess personality-wise, he doesn't seem like a point guard. He seems like a 2 or a 3, kind of an attack dude. I don't see him as a facilitator. And like you said, I don't see him being able to break that press because, as we know, Huggy Bear is real good at that.
I agree with you guys. I think, going against West Virginia, those coal miner guys are going to be real tough, but we'll see.
I'm just having nightmares. I don't remember. Do you guys remember that Harper game against Virginia Commonwealth? Probably 3 or 4 years ago, one of his last years. We had Kevin Caspar trying to break the press, and it was the biggest bloodbath I'd seen in a while. I'm really nervous about that on Friday as long as we get past Valpo.
I'm just hoping that everybody has moved out of the Kentucky Street apartments there is no issues.
Please.
But
so here's a fun stat for you. Speaking of the not being able to defend the 3, I was just looking at Valpo's first game of the season and where they lost to Indy, whoever that is, 60-57. They only shot 8 of 24 from 3. So, that was Indy. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, dude! I was going to say
Valpo was because okay, that's bad, but it's not the worst. Valpo they shot 19 threes. They hit. Anybody want to guess? Guess how many they hit?
10.
2.
No, Ross. Close. 3. They hit 3 of 19 from downtown. So, if we're worried about Valpo, so hopefully Valpo does not get super duper hot and light it up from 3. I feel a little better about that now that I've looked at that box score.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So never mind. ESPN is really slow
about recruiting too before we change gears too, since today was signing day.
Yeah, go for it, bud.
Yeah.
So I know we signed 2 guys today. Cozart from Madison Central, Richmond area.
Yes.
The soon-to-be all-time leading shot blocker. Then we signed that 6'5" guard out of what was that? Clinton County, Jackson.
Yeah, I think it was Clinton County.
Great name, great Southern name.
Hey, I'm excited about both those guys. I wrote the big board for them. Of course, I don't have it in front of me right now, but that Isaiah Cozart he's a beast, and I know it may take a year or so for him to come in and kind of get comfortable with the speed of the game and everything in college, but I think he can really be a threat and an asset for Western, really, to come in and play ball. He's going to be a good kid.
I like that at the shot blocking. That's always good for me.
Oh, I love it. I love the quote Anthony Davis style play that these kids are doing. But. Hey, I'm all for it. It makes for so much more exciting games. What I was actually about to say, I was just kind of scrolling down from the Western basketball news. This thing has been going on since I was in college, 10 years ago. The Italian court says that the WKU mascot case has merit. Do you all know what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
what
I could tell. Now, I don't know how recent that piece of news. Oh, we got a robot. Speaking of Italian courts,
No, I got Ross calling. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, did we lose him?
I guess we lost him. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, you're good.
I mean,
yeah.
while you're doing that, I can kind of lay out the that case. I don't know how recent that article is, but it was earlier in the year where that case had been kind of tabled, and they re-brought it up again. And a new Italian judge, who is now hearing the case, actually says that he wants to get to the case on the merits. He doesn't just want to dismiss it for procedure, or under procedure, which is what the former courts did, which is kind of a huge deal because the amount in controversy was several $1 million, which would be a huge windfall not only for the creator but also for WKU because they would get like tons of money.
Ross, can you hear us, buddy?
I'm back, guys.
Okay, good. Let me get your volume back up here.
I was going to say, he is mouse quiet.
Can you hear us now, buddy?
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
So, were you guys talking about the Italian thing?
Yes, we're talking about the Italian court, and that's, I mean, I know
Is there news on that?
That's what I was just talking about. The Italian court that WKU had, kind of filed their suit in says that the WKU mascot case has merit. So I guess they're going to start looking into it.
Yeah, well, what I was saying, Ross, before we lost you, was that initially it had been kind of tabled. Not necessarily because it didn't have merits, but because a lot of times they always taught us you want to win on procedure, don't even get to the merits, so don't even get to the meat of the matter, just win on like, oh, you filed in the wrong court, or you don't have the right amount in controversy, or whatever, like you can't actually bring the case. And now they're saying, oh, yeah, like we absolutely should hear this on the merits. Like we should listen and see, if this random American dude with this big red blob has a case, which is insane. Not because it doesn't have merit, I think it does, because the Italians are known for like they're kind of like they're the European version of like Chinese knockoffs. The Italians, they love to do that. But it would be a huge windfall for both the creator and like WKU as an institution. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, and of course I remember from back in the day, the Herald wrote an article about it, and that's the only reason I remember this is that they said that the case would probably be buried because of the way the quote corruption of the Italian courts are. But who knows? So we're going to kind of move on to a nice little fun thing I'm going to do tonight with the prospect of with Coach Sanford being fired. We're going to play an old thing. I don't know if Ross, did you ever watch the dating game show?
I'm familiar with it. I think it was before our time, but I think it was Game Show Network, right? Like it was always
there was
like
a run in like the
best
90s,
place to
like
make
when it came back.
whatever.
I remember seeing it like newish.
Yes. Of course, I was a poor kid, so we got like all the basic channels. So I did get to see it. It was like on UPN or something. I don't know. It was some god-awful channel. It
absolutely was on UPN. You are so right.
We're going to go and play that now. So, we're playing the coaching game. You two are going to be our WKU fans who get to choose who gets to be the next coach at Western. Coach,
please tell me you're holding the mic like the creepy guy on Family Feud used to.
No, God, no.
Oh,
Coach number 1. He's a native of Gainesville, Florida. He likes long walks on the beach and playing football. He played quarterback way back in the day for Houston. And now he is a offensive coordinator at a well-known school that I'm not going to tell you because you'll know it real easily. Let's see. He's happily married to his wife, April, who has 4 kids. That's coach number 1.
Does he have a head coaching record anywhere?
No. He's 41 years old.
Does he have any WKU ties?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Coach number 2. He is... Let's see, I gotta see if he's got any... He has WKU ties. His education was at Bellarmine College in San Jose, California. He likes pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. He was a defensive coordinator at St. Mary's High School in Stockton. In 1987, he moved to Las Vegas to put his money on the line and be a linebackers coach at UNLV. You may know some of these because I'm going to be very blatant with some of these. His overall coaching record is 6-18, and he's won 1 bowl game. That's coach number 2. He's also, let me see how old he is. He's also 56 years old. Coach number 3, the wild card of the bunch. Okay, we're still recording. Okay, sorry, my computer slowed down on me, and it was really going slow for a second.
What?
Coach number 3, he's got an overall head coaching record of 11-18. He's 33 years old from Chattanooga, Tennessee, because he loves the water. Salt life, baby. His alma mater is University of Richmond. He played at the Air Force. Then he played for Richmond at quarterback. He was an all-state quarterback at Boyd Buchanan School when he played in high school back in the day. I'm trying to find some other stats on him real quick. Yeah, this wasn't really scripted, guys. Sorry for our
He's an
listeners.
awesome P.
God, Ross, you suck. Okay, so guys, you've got your choices: coach number 1, coach number 2, or coach number 3.
Okay, so I don't know historical stuff real well, so I'm actually just literally shot in the dark. I'd rather have the offensive coordinator of coach number 1.
Okay.
With the ties to Florida. That's offensive coordinator, ties to Florida.
Okay.
Sign me up. Even though I think I know who number 2 might be.
Yeah, actually.
I think I can.
Go ahead,
all
Ross.
3, but go ahead.
Yeah, Ross, go ahead. You pick yours.
I'm going to go with coach number 1 as well.
Okay.
I would rank probably pretty much in the order that you gave, 1, 2, 3, those candidates.
Okay.
I think number 2 would have probably been good replacing Braum, but since we've had some time between them, I think number 1 offers more upside.
Okay. Now, Ross, do you know which ones, who they are without me giving them away? Can you tell who coach 1 through 3 was?
Number 1 is Tyson Helton.
Good job. Number 2?
Number 2 is Nick Holt.
Good job.
Yeah, that's what I figured it was.
And what do you got on 3?
Number 3 is Austin P coach Will Healy.
Good job. Way to go, buddy.
Yeah.
Of course, those are random.
I did not know Healy played quarterback anywhere. He does not look like he played quarterback anywhere.
So I can give a quick rundown on each of them, kind of my thoughts.
Go for it, bud.
I mean, Helton should have probably been who Stewart should have hired 2 years ago. I guess he didn't wow the interview process. That's why Sanford got the job. But he's kind of a perfect mix to me of Braum and independent. So he's not going to be completely married to the Braum system, but he's going, he's been at USC, he's been at Tennessee, he's been all over the place. I think he could, and he's probably chomping at the bit for this big job. So I think that could be a really good thing. I had a buddy who's a Tennessee fan, doesn't think he would take a pay cut, but I think based on his track record and everything, I think that, he seems, to me, he's my favorite guy. Holt, I'm okay with, but, I mean, that Idaho record, it's kind of like an Ed O'Dron situation. Do you take what he did 15 or 10 years ago at a bad school for granted, or do you give him another shot? I don't know. And then Healy is just Sanford 2.0. He's done a great job resurrecting Austin P, but you can't go from one young coach to the next. So
completely agree. And actually, that's why I put Healy at number 3, because he would kind of be the same as what we had. Actually, a name I like, but I don't think he would do it, would be Neil Brown from Troy. I don't see him coming.
I missed the boat on that one.
Yeah, I don't think he would come.
I like it, but he'd be a lateral move. There's no way.
Yeah, and I mean, he wouldn't do it. Western would jump on him, but I'm with you. I like Helton. I like Holt. Maybe not as much as Helton, but I do think that Helton would come to Western because he would want that, quote, stepping stone school, to get a head coaching job, to go on to be another head coach at another, maybe not Power 5 right away, but maybe, the Purdue or, South Florida or whatever.
Purdue's technically Power 5.
Yeah, I mean, technically, but
They're like the Vanderbilt of the Big Ten, or at least they used to be.
I mean, it's kind of the Mississippi State
Northwestern
SEC.
is.
Yeah.
Dude, Northwestern's been good these last few years.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I
but
got a funny story about Helton, by the way.
Okay.
So, I work for, I'll tell you, I work for Chevron, I work for a big oil company, and we had a yearly meeting probably like 4 years ago in Biloxi, Mississippi. So this is an old, smoky, like you couldn't breathe in there casino right on the Gulf. So I go up there, have a beer at the bar, just shooting the breeze. Yeah, with some old guy. And I told him, he goes, yeah, I was a football coach. His dad was at that casino in Biloxi. He was the old coach at Houston. So Helton's got a really good coaching pedigree, obviously his brother and everything else. And I was like, yeah, I'm from Kentucky, went to school in Bowling Green, but live in Louisville, blah 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 blah. He's like, oh, my son's in Bowling Green, and I automatically snapped in my head who he was, because I think that was like Brahms' first year or something, and it was just crazy that just talking to some old football coach in a little smoky bar in Biloxi, or smoky casino in Biloxi. So
that's actually really cool, dude. That you kind of 6 degrees to that and just met his dad. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's kind of going on the same merit. Fantasy coaches. Now, as I stated earlier, this is kind of our ranking for the night. Fantasy coaches we'd like to see come to Western. This can be anybody, from Bobby Bowden to Joe Paterno, I know he's passed, to fantasy fictional coaches, books, literature, movies. It does not matter. I've got my 4, and if you all name one of mine, I'll knock it off the list. Ross, since you're kind of the guest, why don't you go first, buddy?
I've got 2. My first coach would be, I went more with the fictional fantasy coaches, not more, historical. But first one would be Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights.
Nice, okay.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of, he's got the winning attitude. He's coached a little bit in college, but, he kind of failed there, so he's got a chip on his shoulder. So, I mean, and I think he would be kind of a fun little fictional coach. The second one and the last one I had when it came to the fantasy side would be Hayden Fox, Craig T. Nelson's character from the TV show Coach.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Nice. Jake, why don't you take the next one?
So I only have one. It is the coach to end all coaches. He's not actually a coach and has nothing to do with football. Coming straight out of the pages of The Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Gandalf the Grey. And here's why. Look. Let me get to it. So, 1, he has seen and done it all. There is no one with any more experience in leading not just men, but everything, the entire world, than Gandalf. He kicks ass and takes names. Never lost a fight.
You shall not pass, though, with him.
Hold on. Calm down. So he's never lost. And he would have absolutely best secondary and pass rush in the world, because, as you said, he would say to the other teams, you shall not pass.
Yes, that would have...
Maybe that would also be maybe he'd be like Georgia Tech and never throw the ball, but I don't care. He would win.
Quick question. How old is Gandalf?
Oh my God, he's eons.
Since the beginning of time, my friend.
Yes.
How is he going to relate to the young players?
He smokes a pipe.
Yeah, first off, do you know how much pipe weed he smokes? A lot. And the second thing, he's used to leading people than younger than him. The entire fellowship was thousands of years younger than them. And he led them all across the world to victory over and over again. So yeah, I have no doubt that he's a good recruiter. He absolutely took a band of misfits to the championship.
I do question though, because he always has to have a Hobbit on the team. What position does the Hobbit play?
Oh, I'm pretty sure that's pretty self-explanatory. That's kicker. Come on now.
Nice. I like it.
Have you seen kickers?
Yeah. They're I won't say they're Hobbit-like because I know people who are kickers. But
No, they are. They're always hanging. They kind of all just hang out by themselves, right? They're in their own little community. They're a head shorter than most everybody else. They have a very particular set of skills. It's just one real skill. So the kickers are like hobbits. It's cool.
Okay.
Who was the kicker when we were in school, Devin?
The kicker that reminded me of a Hobbit. I guess I would go with Robert Cobb. Do you remember him?
I do not. I had class with a different kicker. I'm trying to think of his name.
Okay. I know one of them. He's non-Hobbit-like. He would be Tanner Seward.
No, it was another one. It was Casey something.
Gosh. Now I got to look it up on my Facebook because we're friends with him.
Yeah, Devin is having a seizure right now.
I know. I feel like it.
I had a couple business classes with the dude. That's how I remember him. But yeah,
Casey Tinius. I didn't even get done typing.
That's it.
I guess my 4 coaches and kind of my horror coach, Tony D'Amato from Any Given Sunday. I think he'd kind of be my top coach because he's good at motivating the team. He's kind of good at managing everything that's going on with the team. Jimmy McGinty because he's good at finding talent. Sammy Winters from the program. Have you all seen that?
No,
I just remember the roided out guy.
I was going to say, the only thing is we really wouldn't be able to take drug tests. But everything else would be fine. And then, of course, the greatest playmaker, coordinator ever is Coach Klein. Coach Klein said I could. Coach Klein said I could. And I guess the only one that I kind of have that would be a, quote, horror coach would be Bud Kilmer from Varsity Blues. Because he was kind of scary at the end, and he just feels like the athletic trainer's nightmare. Considering
Stone Cold A-hole.
Yes. The Bobby Petrino of fictional coaches.
I don't want your life.
The next article you write, if you write one about the why not Bobby, just call it Stone Cold A-hole.
There you go. Oh, well. That's awesome. Do you guys have anything else?
Nope, I am good, sir.
Ross, as always, check him out on the Towel Rack. What's your Twitter handle, buddy?
At Ross Shircliffe, just my name.
There you go. That's always simple with Ross. And as always, like, follow, subscribe for more episodes, and read the Towel Rack because they put out awesome content daily. Maybe they can get some creds. Hopefully soon. If you're listening to
you guys are Towel Rack people. Come on.
Yes, we're Towel Rack people too. So we're trying to throw y'all some love your way. But as always, go Tops.
Go Tops.
Go Tops. Fire Sanford.